Ladies and gentlemen, ATDF everything in that shelf presentation. You're now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hey, hey, hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben
on Spoiled Rotten.
on that shelf.
Boom. We are here to spoil The Last of Us, episode 8, When We Are in Need. That's the one? That's the one.
Yep.
Something like that, right? I'll look it up later. Well, how did you feel about this episode?
It did a lot of things that built upon apparently what people were talking about with this David character and the possibilities and where it could go. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the ugliest side of this kind of thing. I'm like really creeped out by it. And it was a good episode all in all because it made me feel the way I was supposed to. But yeah, it wasn't the cannibalism that was the worst part. That is for sure.
I would say the cannibalism was very much overhyped.
I
don't think that was. You hear, oh, the cannibals are coming, and you think, oh, that means it's a group of people who are all agreeing, let's eat people, instead of one person making a decision and some people being like, I guess I'm going with it.
Yeah. Some people just going with it, and then the other people just, well, blind sheep. Like the analogy that they kind of use. But yeah, it's very disturbing.
So yeah, I guess we can just get into it. I did take notes this time, so we'll be able to go somewhat in order here. But yeah, the episode starts in the dining hall of this resort, the Silver Lake Resort. I'm just going to keep referring to it as the Silver Lake community. David is reading scripture. I always forget, like, obviously it's not mass, but they are going to church right now,
right?
For lack of a better term. It's got the banner that says "When we are in need," and there's a quote that finishes it, but I don't remember. But that's the name of the episode.
Which is interesting because he's preaching, but no cross or anything like that, right? So that was the first thing I noticed, actually.
Yeah,
first thing.
Yeah. I could see them not wanting, like, caring to make one, but to your point, it speaks to what he really cares about. So
exactly,
it is a good setup. But yeah, he's basically preaching, and the scene kind of focuses on this girl who we will find out is the daughter of the person that Joel killed right before he was stabbed with the bat. And it does not look like people are prospering here.
No, it's
people aren't looking great.
It's not a thriving community. It is nothing like what was it, Missouri? Or what, I forget what they call themselves.
Jackson. I don't remember if it's Jacksonville, but it was Jackson for sure.
Yeah, Jackson. So very, very different in Jackson, and just like right off the bat, couldn't help but notice some of the politics involved in this.
Yes. Well, it's not by mistake. It's people know. I definitely listen to the creators talk about each episode, and they obviously wanted to highlight a community that was led with religion, and a community that was led more in the communist vein or feeling. Well, obviously, it's not specifically that, but yeah.
No, it is communist, but it's commune.
I guess what I would say is it's like. Yeah, I mean it is, but it's more altered for the reality of the times. But yes, it is communism.
Yes.
So yeah, what happens when you don't try and consolidate power with one person, basically, if people feel uncomfortable about the, implications of putting religion in that light. If it makes you feel better, it's more, sharing and wanting to uplift everyone versus consolidating power.
Correct. And basically like a pyramid scheme. Looking at it. But instead of the pyramid, the communism has a trapezoid.
So he's trying to comfort her with scripture.
Mhm.
Her that she's upset about her dad. He even says we can't even bury your dad, which is a concept I only learned from that movie Manchester by the Sea, where you literally parts of the year there's certain places where you literally just can't dig and
Yeah.
and bury people. So whether or not he's telling the truth, I think he is. It's more just
It's a good cover. It's a solid
it
cover.
is a good cover, but I do believe that it's more like, as we said, this isn't really about like this scheming cannibal that way. Like
Correct.
he's not actually like I like eating people. It's more
Yeah.
like we can't bury this guy. And
Yeah.
I say this because obviously later on in the show it's implied that they're eating her dad.
Mhm.
It's not that he's like hoarding human bodies. He's actively looking for deer meat and venison, but it's more
Yes.
like, well, we
Supplementing.
can't bury this body, so we might as well use it to stretch out
Yeah,
the
it was out of
actual deer meat we have.
necessity, and what he says and all that kind of stuff. It's to supplement when there's bad times.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And this isn't me being like, so he's a good guy. I'm just saying,
No,
it was weird how many people are like, ooh, cannibals are coming next episode. I'm like, oh, like, not
yeah.
really. I mean, yes, they are technically, but it's not like an
Not
active group
by
of
consent.
and it's not even like the person who's doing it
Mhm.
is like good. They're doing what I always wanted them to do. He's more just like,
Yeah.
this is what we need to do to like stay alive.
Yeah, this is the lack of democracy in action. Like it's not like
Yes.
cannibalism by democracy. It's cannibalism by I God, what is it? I don't even know what to call it, but it's just what happens when you put one person in charge. That's all we're trying to say. Well, I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I'm more giving it that I don't think anyone wanted to be a cannibal. So
Right.
it's weird to, characterize. And maybe they're
Yeah.
going off of the game, and maybe the game makes it seem like David is more of a cannibal, but it's just more like we talk about the decisions people have to
Mhm.
make in this show, and this is a decision he's made.
Yeah.
This is how we stretch out the meat.
He's justifying
Yeah.
his
Again,
decisions.
I'm not
like
justifying what
Yeah.
I'm not saying what he's doing is good. I'm saying, as you hinted at, there's something way shittier about him and like way more his MO
Yeah.
than I'm a cannibal.
Yeah. At this point, it's just like, wait. Even at this point in time, it's just like, wait, this is what's happening right now. I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I see the logic. I see all this kind of stuff. This community is not thriving. You got to make some deep decisions and all that kind of stuff, but not a decision that involves giving up your power to whatever. He's taken on that responsibility, and he's just deceiving people. It's not a group of or a community of willful cannibals that are like,
no one looks like they're, as we said, no one looks like they're happy to be there, or even like, oh yeah, this is just a rough patch. It looks like people are like, geez, like, let's just get through the day.
It looks like it's been winter for a while there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm speaking more to that their relationship with David doesn't seem like, I feel like they were trying to give, not that the creator said this, but maybe like show like a Marlene situation, but or not Marlene, Kathleen,
yeah.
But like, I don't even think that they were inspired by him truly at one point. I think he was just like, I'm taking power, and they were so weak that they were like, whatever.
I think so, because where was the group's origins? He reveals later on in the episode that they came from one of the QZs or something like that, and they just picked up Pittsburgh, but they picked up people along the way, right? So these weren't people that were thriving to begin with. These are just a bunch of people that were, picked up along the way, like they said.
But yeah, so the interesting thing that I thought was, as you said, he's not really willing to give up power, and more than that, he's constantly trying to get people to recommit. So there's the character played by the voice of Joel in the video games, Troy Baker, but like
not just the voice, the full-on Joel. Like he does the mocap and all that kind of stuff.
Joel in the video
he
game.
is Joel, but like the skin, like it's crazy to see him in this role too. But yeah,
So this is a made up character for the show, or as I shouldn't say made up, as if like it's
Well, I
less valid.
mean,
He is made for the show, is what I mean to say.
I mean, we said that about Kathleen, and we didn't. It's
Well, I
still
meant to say
accurate.
she's made for the show. I didn't say
Yeah,
made up.
made up. Okay, yeah. That's a little subtle nuance.
Yes.
100%.
So yeah, he's the reluctant right hand man, and
yeah,
even this early on, you see David being like, "Hey, like I'm sensing people are pulling away," and forcing him to recommit his loyalty in that moment.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I meant you." Like more than anything else,
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is really manipulating a lot of different people. This is
Yes.
nuts.
So yeah, for whatever reason, James is like, I guess, yeah, I'm still with you.
Well, I guess he's playing a numbers game at that point, right? He's just like, because he's got his own family to take care of, so he's not gonna be like, "Hey, we're just gonna mutiny right now," at least in this kind of situation.
I
but
took
it's
it that he genuinely was assessing, and he's like, yeah, I guess I still believe in you.
Yeah, I mean, it's where it's starting to like the idea is starting to grow, right? It's like maybe we should mutiny. It's like, oh, this is the moment when he tested him after he picked up on the fact that he was weaving away.
But they're going to go hunting because they have run out of venison meat. Like they've got a week's worth left. And then we cut to Ellie, and she's trying to keep Joel alive. I think this is the scene where she does like the water on the lips, maybe not, but she's with him. She's like breaking up pieces of food, like whatever they have left, to try and get him to do something with it. Obviously, I'm not saying I could do any better than what she was doing in that situation. It's just like you see the desperation, but also the determination to just be there for him.
Yeah, it's you see that mirroring in the communities that they've built for each other, right? That they're both not thriving right now, and this is a situation where it's like dire. But I do like how she has taken so much charge, and is it no, it's later on, but yeah, she's taken so much charge of this whole thing, is really trying. Like
she's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she goes out to hunt as well.
Finds a white rabbit to begin with.
And
throw back to the previous
that,
episode.
Or just was like, I can't.
No, just like
she makes a noise and it
she trips and falls,
okay,
and
right.
the thing gets away. And then,
I mean, the deer is the better.
Oh yeah, deer's way better. But
I don't even really know what she was gonna do. I guess it went a distance away from her, like enough of a distance. It was probably closer than No, I meant if she had actually just shot it dead right there instead of shooting it and having it walk off.
Right.
Maybe she was just closer.
My assumption would be she'd have to carve it up in pieces and bring it back. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my assumption.
Anyway, she doesn't get the chance because she does make the shot, but it dies pretty much where David and James are.
Yep.
And I do like that right away. They're like, well, obviously we didn't do this, so like we should be aware of what's going on here. But I do like that Ellie gets the drop on them.
Yeah.
And I mean, not obviously. I believe that's part of what makes David be like, oh, she's definitely not someone that I'm going to try and rule over. I mean, I'm talking about his rationalization. Obviously, what he wants to do is rule over everyone he interacts with, but I think in his eyes, he thinks what he says later about the whole, this would be us being equals. But we know as an audience that's obviously not the case.
Yeah. I think it's interesting
not to kill her because he's like interested in her at this point.
Yeah, it's so creepy. The whole thing was like this scene for me was like, oh man, I hope this is not where I think it's going. And I will say, like, it's just I had a little inkling of it right there and then, because I'm like, why would he not try to take her out right now? Realistically, like, there's literally no reason to trade penicillin right now for half the beer. There's literally no reason.
He could just take it, but I think that's why I bring up what he said later, which is,
yes,
I think he's well aware he's with a bunch of duds. So why not try and get a non-dud on your side?
Yep.
I think that's the long and short of it, is that he's like, oh, she's actually capable. She got this shot. I mean, yes, it got away, but she got the drop on us. That's something. And then as the scene is progressing, I'm sure he knows she's bluffing, but her conviction is probably compelling to him as well.
Yep.
But no one else in his group has that conviction.
No. It's true.
So yeah, not that much of a mystery to me why he doesn't want to get rid of her. I think he's bored with the people he's with. We also find out there's a sexual element to this, but
Yep.
I think in this scene, at least if we're just going off of the information in this scene, it is enough for me to be like, yeah, he's interested in her. I didn't read any sexual thing into it at this point because I was still like, yeah, he's a megalomaniac and he's like, ooh, like someone that could challenge me at something.
Right. So
that's what I was reading. But yeah, I think even if you're reading the sexual stuff, it's all clear stuff of like this is someone he would want to keep around.
Yes, that again, like the ground being frozen thing, very, very true covers for what actually exists in the sense where it's just like, okay, at first, I mean, like the things that he's offering her when, like, you know, all this kind of stuff, the situation, how there's so many things to be like, okay, if you're true to your word right now, preacher, why did you ethically make the decision to steal something that wasn't yours to begin with? As opposed to, like, that was their first reaction, right? It's like, oh, someone else shot this. Yeah, it's not ours. Let's take it quickly. That was their first response. And it's a dumb idea because I'm like, hey, the deer's bleeding. So you're going to leave a trail, as they show you later on, right? So it's the idea of, if he's so pure of heart and he's trying to recruit her, to me, it raised hairs that I'm like, your initial thing was stealing.
He's pure of heart.
Well, I mean,
I don't think at any point this show is showing you that.
They're showing, no, I get what you mean. They're showing you his corruption right away, and then immediately he's like, I want to recruit you, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is going to go so well. I feel like there was an element immediately where I was like, this doesn't stack up. I'm getting creeper vibes.
Yeah,
and
you can get those vibes. Yeah. I don't think this is trying to be set up as a twist where you're like, oh wait, he wasn't a good guy at all.
No, not that, but
to
just
be like, oh,
how bad is he? Yeah, just how bad is he? Like what they're I'm getting at is like, no, what level of bad is he? Because they haven't shown you everything already, and that's why I get so many creeper vibes there. Is because I'm like, they're gonna go deeper.
Like a lot of things in the show, there's a subtlety in rhetoric to what's happening that I think they are giving you all of the signs of how bad he is.
Yes,
the first scene,
100%.
So I don't know. Again, I don't know that there's that much mystery. I just think that yeah, it's like the episode we just watched, the Left Behind one, where you're like, you already know something bad's gonna happen, so it's more just like, hey, when's the other shoe gonna drop?
Yeah, exactly. That's basically what it is. That's like giving me the weird vibes from this scene already. How, you know, how he's playing it out and all that kind of stuff.
But I like that he's like, well, we're part of a big group that needs food, so kind of sucks that you're trying to keep this for yourself. And she's like, no, I'm part of a big group too. I really thought like, oh, she's gonna do something where they get the drop on her in this specific scene. They ultimately do, but in this specific scene, I was just really happy that Ellie held her own, and like the only time that she not wavers, but plays her cards a bit too much is when she's like, you have medicine? Penicillin for an infection? And you're like, okay.
Yeah, zero chill on her. Like, yeah, they got you. You're screwed now at this point in time.
But I did like when he was like, okay, go talk to Hank or whatever the name was and get the 2 bottles of penicillin and a syringe. And he's like, this isn't code, by the way. Like, actually do that. And it reminded me of the married couple. He's like, did you tell them the truth? Are you telling me the truth?
Yep. And I like the throwback to that episode later on too. But we'll get there.
Yeah,
because we got to talk about that later. But in this scene, the thing I really like about Ellie is like, she's putting on that front. She's doing a good job. She really, really is. Because to disarm the rifles instead of just like, I'm going to take them. I'm like, yeah, you're having trouble holding that one up. So like, good job of like disarming the rifles. So they're completely useless.
It's not like there's bullets.
Yeah. And they would have to try to club you with it or something like that. It's good, like great instincts.
I feel like she did a great job in this, and I'm not even like, oh, if only she didn't show her hand with the it's like, it's what she needed. And again,
she's freaking teenager.
They're living in a world where everyone kind of just needs to know, like, this is what you need out of this situation, and I don't need anything
Yeah.
else out of this. So like,
Mhm.
what I mean, it sucked because of who she's talking to, but in
Mhm.
general, it would have been fine if she was like, "Yeah, I need the medicine. Give me the medicine,"
Mhm.
and that she wasn't willing to go with them and get trapped. She's like, "No, you're coming back here with the stuff. I'm waiting
Mhm.
here. I have collateral with David. He'll stay here."
Mhm.
All good in theory. Obviously,
Yes.
she's dealing with people that
Mhm.
aren't great, but like in theory, it is a good plan.
It's a good plan in theory. You're absolutely right. But experience is not on her side, clearly. And that's where
No,
she makes that mistake where she can't play it cool.
no, and then they kind of go off. Like he's kind of
Mhm.
like, let's not stand out in here in the cold. So they go off somewhere else. I think he said he had some way of being warm near closer to where they're.
Oil and like matches to build a fire or
Yeah,
something like
so
that
they
in his
they
pack.
go, and he's talking about how he found faith after
Yep.
the world ended as opposed to beforehand.
Hmm.
Giving me some hints and about basically seeing like a power vacuum and taking
Hmm.
less actual faith, but just more like, oh, okay, I see how I can control
Yeah.
people.
So
Great.
democracy's gone. Okay, cool. I can do this.
Yes.
I've seen it.
Um,
I've seen a template of how this has been done many, many times.
yeah.
And
Yeah. So then this is where I thought, again, I wasn't like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's not good, but I liked how he revealed like this whole time I knew who you were, and
mhm.
I'm going to show you like, yeah, like things really work out for me.
Yeah.
Everything always happens for a reason. Like running into you right now because I am looking for your friend, the
Hmm.
person who killed one of my people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I like that again. He calmly he's like, no, 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 lower the gun, James. Like, because you're not even thinking that they have to drop on her. Like, actually, like
Hmm.
in the conversation they got the drop on her, but it's like, no, there's actually someone pointing a gun at her as well.
Hmm. Hmm. That was a very surprising thing because I was pulled into that moment so much. So I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that guy would pull out a gun immediately, and
Mm-hmm.
he's going back to the town and getting medicine and therefore weaponry and all that kind of stuff. So
But like
great
showing that,
stuff. Yeah.
as you said, like he's not aligned with David
Yeah.
because, as I
Doesn't
said,
trust
I
him.
believe David really was like, don't kill her, like just give her what she needs, because then she'll have to come to me because he thinks he's that good that he'll
Right.
get her on his side. And James is like, we need to just kill this person. This is stupid.
Yeah.
And he's like constantly like, do not kill her.
Yeah.
Like, we are not killing her.
I do like how he justified it to her. But like, hey, you dummy, if we killed her, she wouldn't be able to bring us back to the guy that killed whoever. Like he just played it off that way. Like, but in real life, I'm like, yeah, you would be able to track her tracks. I mean, it's winter. There's snow. You're going to be able to track her tracks. So it was
Yeah.
a good call on his part to be like, no,
And
keep
I
him
and I
alive.
do
Go
think
for the
he
big
wanted
thing.
to kill Joel. Like
Yeah.
that's how he shows power to the people.
100%.
Like,
And
so
eat
like,
him.
yeah, they
Probably.
need that win of killing Joel.
Yeah,
For sure.
they need the win. They need yeah, because if he brought them Joel, they would have followed him, right? That's what he's probably thinking. Like he's like, yeah, this will really I get results. That's what I'll show them. And he'll probably be like, I'll also give them dinner out of Joel. So I think that's
I mean, I think he was like, I have the deer. We're
he's
good on dinner.
no, I because he's clearly got stock later on. So yeah, he's building up. I mean,
Well, he's got the stock we already heard about, which is
yeah,
that we've got a week's worth of it.
yeah, yep.
And then yes, the other human parts, but like I think he would have been I think he would have been good to be like, we're killing him and I'll feed them venison because then it'll really be good times.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh yeah, so Ellie gets the penicillin out of this, as you said. He has explained to James, we're going to let her go because then we can see where they are. And she administers the penicillin again, another like very realistic thing of like, I genuinely would not know where to put that.
I would not know where to put it.
Just like, I guess I'm putting it right in the wound. Like
Yeah.
like I think I would have made the same choice she did. Apparently, you just need to get it in the bloodstream, but like,
but I mean, like, this
why
is
not
okay,
try
and this
just
is
go
where
right into the infection.
this is kind of where I'm really gonna show how dumb I am in the world of medicine. Like, isn't the entire body going to circulate it through the bloodstream at some point? You know what I mean? It's
Well,
just like
that's what I'm saying. Like, you just need to get it in the bloodstream and it'll get circulated. But like,
exactly. So I'm like,
I would be like, nah, I need to put it right there.
yeah, I'm like, well, especially considering her thing. I was like, how does this work? She's probably never seen a syringe before, right, or something like that.
I doubt she's never seen a syringe.
Well, okay, fair enough.
I don't think that's. Like,
I'm trying to imagine how like resource driven out this world is at this point. But
I'm saying
I would imagine a syringe is a hard thing.
I wouldn't know what to do with it right now.
Right, but either way, I'm just like, there's a lot going on there. I'm saying stuff that doesn't even make sense. You're absolutely right. I'm like, I wouldn't know where to put that.
Yeah,
like yikes.
It's yeah, she needs Joel, obviously. So a lot's on the line here. It's not like she only has one shot at it. Like, she's got 2 bottles, but also she knows this is a finite amount. Like, it's not like she's like, oh, I'll just go back and get more.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to not waste this.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it is what it is. I would have made the exact same decision. Jab it at the site of infection. That makes the most sense to me.
So then there's that. Just another like nice moment of her being there physically for Joel.
Yes, and then they are cuddling together. That subtle thing where he leans the head to rest on hers while she's spooning. That's sweet.
There's the very awkward thing of, you see them preparing food, which is clearly like human at this point. And
it was such awkward food preparation skills.
The woman's like, what is this? And he's like, venison. Just like straight up live venison. And then only for them to bring in venison. I'm like, oh boy, they don't know the bad timing of this, but like, just for them to walk in while people are like eating the human, just be like, yes, more of that venison. We definitely have more.
Well, we already, because I don't know at that point how much of the guy they had already eaten, you know? Like, I don't know if they've eaten like a leg of it.
I think when he sits down, that's when they're eating the guy. Like, I think that's.
But is it like all of the meat that they got from the guy? Is what they're saying? Or like, are they stretching it out?
I mean, I don't know if it matters. I think when they started was the time that you see them all like sitting down.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna knock on their food culinary preparation skills. Who the hell puts meat into soup like that to make a stew? Like, that's just dumb. You're not gonna brown it at all. Like, you clearly got some ability to cook.
I don't think it really matters, because
it's just I want them to smell, like, made comments of like, this doesn't smell like venison or something like that. But yeah, it's yikes. It's just gross.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they're just like, I need to eat.
Yeah, it is just gross. Because otherwise they were just boiling a pot of, and I don't know how they got it that yellow, but they were just boiling a pot of like spices, I guess, before they were able to throw the venison and like that. Yeah. The human.
Oh boy. Yeah. So basically they're back and they say like, good news, we found the guy. Well, we found Joel and Ellie basically. And the daughter makes the unfortunate thing of acting as if she has a say in the matter and gets smacked for it, because she was like, we should kill them. And he like knocks her to the ground with his smack.
Like, immediately. Just like no hesitation whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
God damn, don't talk, dude, while I'm talking. I'm a terrible person.
God damn, like, that was so crazy to me. I'm like, and the mom just being so scared that she's like, what? And then he sits down. God damn it, that's creepy as shit.
And he has the best prepared and
the most amount. Yeah, I like how the shots were like everyone's bowl looked empty and all that kind of stuff, like a small amount, and he's got like at least like 2 ladles. Yeah, he's got at least 2 ladles. It's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, power moves.
Oh yeah, I guess people won't like this with thrillers, but like, I feel like that's a lot of imagery of religious men in particular having abundance, while the people that they're supposed to be protecting do not go without, basically.
Correct. It's very, very clear there. But yeah, I like that shot.
Yeah, it's very effective, and the sound design in the scene as well. It's like obviously really focusing on the spoons like clanging instead of like being able to ladle up the food, like a lot of like hitting empty
hitting.
bowl.
Yeah, it's really good sound. Like everything about this scene was really, really well done.
Yeah.
Of just how messed up this whole situation is. Because like, doesn't he also throw the deer in the middle of the?
Yeah, he just drops it to the
He
ground.
just drops it. It's like, cool.
Yeah, you guys will take care of this, obviously.
Yeah, gonna make a big scene out of this. But yeah,
yeah, we see Ellie giving more penicillin to Joel and kind of trying to make some form of like routine. Like obviously she's going out to get stuff for the horse, and that's when she notices, oh, they're coming for me.
Yep.
And again, I was like, solid plan. Like, you're gonna draw them away from Joel. You're giving him an opportunity. You're giving him the ability to defend himself.
Yep.
Should he get better? Like, I'm luckily he did get better. Well, like,
Right.
Again, what would you do? Like? It's not like you'd be like, he won't be ready by then, and just leave him with nothing. So yeah, again, just like might as well bet on him being better and being able to defend himself. And
well, yeah. I mean, they did have this small confirmation that he is getting better with the swelling of the area going down, and all
I
that
just
kind of
mean
stuff.
like better enough to defend himself,
Right,
less,
right.
just better enough to actually be able to look around and say something.
By the way, wanted to point out how eerily similar that stab wound is like to a bite mark. You know what I mean? It looks, at first I was like, wait, Joel got bit through, like, I'm like, oh no, wait, that's a stab wound.
Just
it looks like a bite.
Kind of like went in.
Yeah. It looks like a bite. So it threw me for a second.
But yeah, I have seen other people talk about that. Yeah, you're not the only one that noticed.
But you know what yeah, and I think the cool thing is like, you know how with Sam couldn't heal the bite. It's just like the visual bite mark and the fact that she got the penicillin. I think that's kind of like a cool little thing that I'm pretty sure that's what they were kind of going for by making it look so much like a bite. But it looked like a bite. I was thrown off for a long time.
I think it's what you said last episode, which is this is the first time she's been given the tools to protect someone she cares about. I don't know how much they care to go down the line of infected, uninfected, all that. I think it's just as simple as you put it last episode, that like she's been hit with all these knocks of not being able to protect people she cares about, and now she's in a position where she wants to protect them and can do something about it, and so that's an evolution for her, and obviously something to be happy about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, basically she goes off, she shoots the gun right away to draw their attention.
Good plan.
And David is like, James, I'm being dead ass, do not kill her. Like, everybody don't kill her. And I was like, I mean, I couldn't believe James was like, I'll listen to him, and shoots the horse instead of her. When he could have probably hit her.
I doubt that. I mean, it is a moving horse, so I'm like, how good of a shot is he? That's quite a big trick shot considering ammo is conserved, and he's probably thinking, hey, we're eating animals already. I mean, we're eating people already. Why not eat a horse too? You know, so. It seemed to make a lot more sense to me that he shot the horse, knowing that bullets are, knowing that's a hunting rifle too, that he's not going to be able to load up another shot for a while. It made a lot more sense to me, and plus that was like how it happens in the game, which is kind of cool.
I'm not too concerned with that, how it happened in the game, because they are adapting. So I think, and he's not a character from the game, but like,
David shoots the horse like that, but it's
like. What I'm concerned with is the beginning of a power play that obviously gets squelched, but him deciding ultimately I'm still going to kill her, versus maybe being like, as we showed tracking through the episode, of being like, I guess I still have faith in you, and doing that. Yes, it's harder to hit her, but I feel like if you're so inclined, you might try and take the shot.
Right. I think at that point, it's the discussion of like the second shot. You're talking about where they're all gathered around her and all that kind of stuff.
He's going to do it. Then.
Yeah, I do believe it's. I stand by the fact that it's very difficult to hit a little girl on a horse moving like that, with a bullet from a hunting rifle. So he did the probability thing, and he did a better job because if you fall off a horse, you're gonna stay alive. Like, cool. If like David sees him,
I mean,
and then the idea of
actually no, you definitely can die from what
you could definitely die. I get that, but you're more likely to stay alive from that than a gunshot.
I get that. We can just move on. You're right.
Right.
I don't really care that much, but ultimately he didn't do it, so you're right.
Right. But he didn't do it because he was interrupted. That's the important thing, right? You're right that
no, I mean the first shot.
The first shot, yeah.
The second shot, we both agree he was going to kill her, and then he gets
100%. But it's interesting to point out that he needed to be elected to do that. He needed the support of everyone, right? There was actual democracy in that regard because he wanted to. He had the gun pointed at her already, and everyone else was like, do it when there's another mouth to feed and all that kind of stuff. The democracy outweighing the needs of like the one person, but the one person outruling all of it immediately. It was such a crazy it's rebellion starting right there, right? It's wild to see it starting. I liked it. I like those subtle power struggle hints.
Yeah, and to show ultimately how impotent they are, because obviously they could have overpowered David. Like
easily,
more of them than than there is of him. So they could have just been like, we made the decision to kill her. So
and
deal with it.
We'll kill you because
it's not like he has superpowers.
Yeah, he doesn't have superpowers. It's like, we'll kill you too because you made us eat people, and we didn't want to do that.
I get the sense not everyone in that hunting party knew they were human.
But
James obviously knows.
Yes,
that's very clear. But I don't think everyone in that hunting party knew.
Not everyone, but the idea of like just no, there's enough people to be like, hey, we can kill her and kill you too. Like, you're not doing great. We can use a power change, but. Either way, it's starting there. It's starting. They want something different than what David's preaching. Good stuff.
Yes, and it's starting to inch in that they actually act on it, like the daughter did before she got smacked. But yeah, so while that's happening, we see someone actually make it into the house, and the show shows us he's not lying down anymore, so we know that much at least. And then he gets the drop on this guy, and we get to watch in very gory detail as this guy chokes on his own blood to death.
Oh god, yeah, that was a lot.
It was rough. Then we go back. David has obviously captured Ellie. He's got her in a cage.
Well,
and he is, when I say this, I don't mean that I think he wants to be friends with her or that he actually thinks they're going to be equals, but he is trying to win her over here.
Yes.
And what I do believe is that in his mind, he does really mean like, you're better than everyone else here. Like, he still wants to control it, but he he has convinced himself that like, I don't know, she could be like my
number two,
whatever.
Eventually, but like
we could just rule together.
It's wild to see how people are using the truth to manipulate, right? It's the idea, like, originally, the ground's too cold, we're not going to bury him. Oops, we're just not going to because we ate him. Oopsie. All that kind of stuff. He's using the truth to manipulate, and the idea of like, he can simultaneously think, you're better than these people, but also I'm not telling you the full truth of what I want. But that touch on the cage, and the idea that he was like holding her like the way he carried her too, that was, I'm like, okay, cool, you're doing the Christ thing. Yay, you're saving them, whatever. Like, it's a lot of imagery there, a lot of powerful imagery, but disturbing. 100%. Obviously. Yep. But the touch, the hand touch on the gates, creeped me the crap out.
I would say, well, we'll get to it, but I do think that he does think he's exposing himself to her.
I do believe that. Yeah, he's like,
based on his thing of like, I thought you knew the fight. Like, I don't know if I don't know if he is consciously doing it, but I do think he's like showing her everything, and not actually hiding his true intentions. I think it's just more like, him banking on we're the same, so you'll get it. You get
Yeah.
what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
Um,
trying to manipulate her that way. It's just like, yeah, we're doing the same thing. I used to teach building that trust. Like I used to teach math to kids like you and all that kind of stuff. Like he's just all the tricks to try to get her under his thumb.
100%.
Yeah.
So then we see Joel capture two people back at their house, and really he does a Liam Neeson from Taken on them.
Oh, yeah. Yikes. Shot for
And-
shot, the same as the game, too. Dialogue
Yeah.
and all. That is wildly gory. And I'm like, that is showing you who Joel really is. Yikes.
That's the
a scary guy.
violence. That's
Yep.
definitely a glimpse into the terrible things he did to people that
Mhm.
haven't been explicitly stated but talked about
Yep.
throughout the season. So yeah, you definitely get to see that, obviously, as the audience, or maybe not so obvious. Maybe you didn't feel the same way, but for me, you're like, yeah, he's doing it for Ellie though. So
Yeah, that's what
hopefully this works out.
that's literally what everyone's thinking at this point. I'm like, no, he's getting Ellie's address. It's not he's like, no, give me a
Yeah, he's not like, I need a battery so I
something.
can get back to my
He's like, no, I've had enough of this journey.
Yeah.
I've gotten out. I'm gonna take it. Like, give me some transportation. No, he's like, no, where's the girl?
Yeah, where is she? And I as you mentioned, there's the same, like, you're
The
gonna
map
point
thing?
it out on
Yeah.
a map, and
And
the other person being like, well, yeah, so basically, yeah, I like that he's like, you're gonna point it out on the map, and he's like, it's not a city, it's just a resort. I just like that they added that detail of like,
yeah,
no, idiot, you're not gonna like,
it's not
I'm
a
gonna
real
say
place.
this, and then you're gonna try and ding me for it not being on the map. It's not on the map because it's not a city.
Right.
And
then he's
then
the
so
pointing thing from the previous episode, like, or not, is it the previous? I can't remember. But
No.
when he had the two people trapped up in the cabin,
So that would have been 6. That's the one right
Yeah.
after
yeah, so yeah,
Henry and Sam
so
died.
it would have been 2 episodes ago, yeah. Because the mall episode was last episode.
Yes.
Yeah, so he does the exact same thing from that. Better
Well,
point to the
I
same
mean,
spot your other
way
person
less
points to.
violence.
Way less violence, but like the same tactic of point to the same
Actually,
spot
it's
your
not the
partner.
same tactic, because he's like, I'm doing this to you. I'm gonna mutilate you and then kill you. And the guy's like, why'd you kill him? He told the truth. And he's like, it's not an interrogation at that point. He's like, no, I believed him. And he just
Yeah.
kills the guy.
No, I agree, but it's just the idea he's like pulling that trick out and all that kind of stuff. And the moment he actually did it, he was like, no, I believe him. That was brutal and ruthless. Crazy. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Yeah, because I guess you would believe anyone with a knife in their kneecap.
I don't remember what movie I saw. I think it was Body of Lies, where they're like, it's not like this is just, if you do this, like if you torture people like this, you just enjoy it, because like people will tell you anything at a certain point of pain, like just so you stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not really, this isn't truly effective. It's more just like you are enjoying it hurting someone.
Right. But I mean, adding the element of time to this, is there something to be said about that? Of he didn't have enough time, so he's got to go straight to the psychotic old Joel stuff rather than take the time.
Anything about what he's doing is calculated in that sense. I think you're just seeing his raw.
Yeah. No, it's not calculated.
How his reaction. This is not. This isn't a calculation of like, oh, I need to do it this way instead. It's just like,
right.
I don't like. I am reacting right now. Like, you took my daughter.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
That's why I'm not questioning his interrogation skills. I'm just like, yeah, it would be effective.
I wasn't
to trust anyone.
I wouldn't actually trust the information, but it would be a cold thing to tell someone before you kill them anyway.
Oh, God,
oh no,
yeah.
I trusted him. Don't worry about that.
Oh God, yeah.
You can die knowing that you're just dying because I'm pissed off.
Yeah, and shot for shot, same as the game. That's the important thing. What a game.
Yeah, what happens after that? And obviously they must go back to Ellie.
Yeah. Because he stumbles through the forest walking.
Yeah, he's stumbling through the forest. Ellie sees the ear on the ground before David comes back with the food. And this is, I think, the big blow up of like, you're a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
And then he tries to bring her back down. and talk about everything we've said so far, that
Mhm.
I see you as an equal. I see you as someone who's not actually a sheep. We could run this together, and
Mhm.
her pretending like she's going along with it.
Mhm.
And really just needing to get closer to him and snap his finger so that she can try and get the keys. I did like that she wasn't actually able to do it, only because
Mhm.
where's she going once she undoes that lock? Like she would get caught. So it was just more like, I'm glad she tried. She wasn't ever like, oh, what do I do? Like in that moment, she's like,
Mhm.
I have to try to get out of here with this,
Yep.
and he overpowers her.
Yeah, I mean that he's absolutely right. Like that is what makes her different, right? Everyone else is just literally not a fighter in the sense,
Mhm.
not a survivor like she is. So she does take the best thing that she can get, and at the very least causes them pain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are survivors in the sense that they're
Mhm.
willing to follow him, but they're not leaders or any like yeah, like
Right.
or that
They're
concept of
survival.
survival isn't enough. So like
Yeah.
they're just surviving, whereas he
No one's thriving.
he's
Yeah.
trying to sell the idea that we could thrive. These people are
Right.
just surviving. We could thrive.
Versus it's only he can thrive
Yes.
because clearly he's eating everything and
Yeah.
getting everything.
He needs these people to step on.
Yep.
It's just what he's selling.
Yeah.
Ellie.
He's kept them so weak. He's underfed them so much. And yeah.
So yeah, she does not get the keys,
Nope.
and that I think only momentarily, but he's like, well, now I am going to chop you up into pieces. You hurt my feelings. And he
Yeah.
storms
Yeah.
off.
How did you describe it? Like scene for scene from the games, like how did you put it? Like small little bits or something like that?
Pieces, yeah.
Yeah. When she because she blows up, she does not like the cannibalism thing. Good on
Well,
her.
I mean, yeah, she doesn't like any
Good
of it.
strong
But
moral
yes.
values.
Yeah.
The kid was raised right in this messed up world.
Yeah,
If we're talking about cannibalism.
with her.
Yeah. They probably fed her rations instead of people. Good stuff. Good stuff, Hydra.
Yeah. So then David and James come back, and they're gonna chop her up. And
So
at
little
first, I
pieces.
genuinely didn't understand why she did this fully. Not that I questioned her doing it. I was just like, oh, it's not clicking for me why this would be important. But I kept forgetting, oh no, they do eat people. Like, because she was like, no, I'm infected. You can't do this. And you're going to be infected because I bit you.
Just enough time to scramble them.
Yeah.
Distract them a little bit. Until she can figure out the next move for sure.
Because then James is like, well, we're not putting this into the food system. Like, we're not feeding her to people then, because this is a terrible idea. And yes, as you said, it's just enough time for her to be able to take the cleaver and put it in James's neck.
I like how does David question immediately whether or not she's like actually infected or not? Like James does, but like
no, James never
well, I mean,
that she's infected. He's like, oh, she's infected.
Right, but David does, right? Because he's
David
like, wait, how
it.
he questions it. How did you do it? How do you like
no,
you know, this part, healed and all that kind of stuff?
He just goes, yeah, right. And then she's like, look at my arm. And so then James already believed it, but then he sees that, he's like, okay, definitely that's real. And then he's like, that's fake. Like David says that's fake. That's all he's able to get out. And James is like, it looks pretty convincing to me. And that's when she gets him. And so then, after that scene is when he's like chasing her and trying to intimidate her. And he says something that I think is true, which is, you can't be infected because no one would fight to stay alive the way you are if they were infected.
Yes.
And I'm like, that has to be true. Like, obviously I haven't seen but it's just like that we saw how Tess reacted when she was like, bitten, right? And obviously that's one situation, not everybody's situation, but I feel like he's seen enough to be like, this much is true. You clearly aren't infected, because why would you be fighting so hard?
But also it's like, why isn't your wound fresh? If we know Cordyceps, because I'm assuming here that David knows that Cordyceps, because he basically says here that he worships it, right? That he knows that the how fast it takes over based on being in a QZ and all that kind of stuff, having that education, or, you know, like if you're infected, it'll take bitten here, it'll be like at the brain by this point, right? So the fact that he sees that it's healed, and all that kind of stuff, not actively bleeding. I like that he's like, how did you do it? How did you do that kind of thing? He's questioning her the entire time. It's really, really great. But yeah, he says a lot of things here that are like very, very true to be like, I know you're not infected.
Yeah.
It's actually great.
Although I don't, it's obvious. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I guess I feel like people were talking about like asymptomatic people with COVID, but I guess it's not the same thing because you would still
definitely
test
not.
positive.
Yes.
I guess she does test positive.
She does
It's
test
just not
positive.
affecting her. It's just not
Yes.
affecting her. So she
Right.
could potentially pass it on.
Right. But the
We'll
point
never know
is,
because he's dead. But
right.
like,
but the point
she could
is,
pass it on.
there's no wound that would heal that faster than it would, the cordyceps would get to the brain, is his point. And I'm like, yeah, that's 100% true. The
I
bite
guess what I'm
wouldn't
saying
have
is
healed.
that's irrelevant because
I think there is relevancy behind that. Like, it's a healed bite. Like,
well, he
that
doesn't
was
say
Tess's
that.
point,
For
right?
one, he doesn't
Well,
say that.
he sees it
Two,
healed, though, right?
What he does say is, I
Mhm.
don't believe you're infected because you're fighting so hard. He's not talking about timing and cordyceps. That's you. So what I
Right.
would say is the relevance isn't is she infected? It's will I be infected and spread this? Or
Mhm.
would people eating you spread this? That's the
Mm.
relevance, not what has she turned, has she not?
Right. It's yeah. I'm just explaining different ways that he would have been able to stack up that she is not actually, like, in fact, based on that, what she
But
knows
what
of
I'm saying is
all that
we
kind of
as an
stuff, right?
audience also don't know what she's capable of doing in
Oh,
that sense.
absolutely. Oh,
So-
absolutely.
So then for you to try and close it off doesn't really make sense because we don't know.
But I mean, it's what Tessa said in previous episodes. Like, look at it; it's freaking healed. Like, there's no way it can be healed and all that kind of stuff. And then, like, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But either way, it's kind of irrelevant. He knows that she's not
Yeah, that's what I meant by
truly
it's
infected
irrelevant.
and
It's
all that
just
kind
more
of
like
stuff.
he
Yeah.
can safely assume she's not infected, but what effect will that have? And I think that would still eat at him.
Well, yeah, whether or not that he could be it could be transmitted, right? And that's he's basically acting at this point as he has been infected, because he's like, oh yeah, just let the whole thing burn. Like, he had the option of like taking down that drape at one point. They even show you, but
He
he's
makes
like,
the
no,
decision not to. Yeah, he
exactly,
definitely looks at it and goes, no.
He assumes that he's infected, right? And yeah, he's trying to get one last expose the real him, so to speak. Yikes.
So yeah, he ultimately gets her pinned. The mechanics of which I'm sure people remember from seeing it, but gets her pinned, and yes, this is where
he
goes beyond that hand caress, and he is actively acting as most sexual, like,
he's gonna rape her in this scene. He's just gonna rape her. Yeah. It's rough.
And that it is a power. We've been talking about all the power moves he's done throughout the episode. This is another one, and he explains, I
like it when you scream more.
It's only making this better.
Yeah. I like it when you scream more. It's absolutely sick. And yeah, it's this reveal, huge. Didn't see that coming, because it was hinted at, and they didn't really get there, kind of like how they obviously did here in the game. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, yikes, this was hard to watch. It was really hard to watch. And then Ellie unleashed.
She makes
cathartic
her way out of it.
Yep.
She
cathartic but scary.
Very upsetting.
Christ, that camera shot. I didn't think they were going to do that from the game too. I'm like, they're doing literally everything from the game right now. It's chaos to me. I'm like, if they do that shot too, yikes.
And then she makes it out.
What great acting.
Is still trying to come down from that.
Of course.
For obvious reasons. And I like what the creators said about this moment, which was Ellie doesn't need Joel to protect her physically in that sense, but what he can do is be a parent and protect her emotionally and help recenter her.
Absolutely.
And I like that evolution for Joel's character as well, that he's shifting from being the grunt to being emotionally available and being able to. I mean, it's a simple thing, but calling her baby girl and telling her it's okay, and just
that's
being
huge.
emotionally
That's huge.
raw,
Yeah.
there, as opposed to what he's done in the past, where
Yeah.
it's more like you know how I feel, implied. It's like, no, I'm going to be here for you in this moment because I mean, he doesn't know what's been through, but he can see the state she's in, and just kind of bringing along what I can't remember the doctor's name, but when he was just saying like, hey, that's part of this, right? Like, you're protecting these kids.
Yeah.
You need to take into consideration their emotional state. It can't
Yeah.
just be you physically stop them from dying, or you physically did. It's like, how are you taking into account the emotional parts of this?
Yeah.
And so it was nice to see Joel have that. Not because I was like, oh, okay, good, the man gets to do something. It's more just the person she's with, that she obviously loves and needs and wanted to take care of, was able to be helpful to her in that moment.
Yeah, and it's because I love that you're bringing this up, because it is different than the game, right? In the game, Joel tackles her off him after, well, David's already dead, gets her out of the fire and all that kind of stuff. So Joel basically saves Ellie. In this scene, Ellie
from dying,
from dying and or losing herself or whatever it is, or being like, hey, he's already dead, stop, you're like, whatever it is. But the point is that Joel saves her in the game, and in this, she doesn't need the physical saving. It is entirely like you said, it is all just the emotional availability of it, and him being baby girl. I'm like, isn't that what he called Sarah? So
probably,
I'm like, he's just the symbolism of just him hugging her with the watch exposed to. I'm like, yep, there it is. He's full on dad mode now. He is Daddy Joel.
So then they walk off and the credits roll.
Yep.
That's that. That is episode 8.
It's a big one. It's a heavy one. Heaviest so far.
Solid one. I mean, as someone who knows where the first game ends, I don't really know what's happening in this last episode of the season. Maybe they're not going to do the end of game 1 in this, but they could. I'm not watching.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I'm not watching to be like, this isn't gonna feed into what I know of what happens. It's more just like, like this will be interesting because it feels like there is room for them to deviate again.
Yeah, and this is the one thing I'm glad you brought up, is the idea that I kind of get scared knowing that this episode they stayed so faithful to the game. Does it predict that they're going to do a wild departure? Like, here's your comfort, people. We're going to do something very, very different. So don't know what's going to happen there compared to the game. But we'll see a whole bunch of people come back in this episode. And it's the big finale. So we'll see what happens if they do change it. What happens, but
it would be, I would seem weird to change it, but
it would.
As you said, they could. I don't think they were doing this to comfort people. I think they did enough of a different adaptation here that.
Right. I mean, not comfort people per se, but like just faithful, comfort them from, how like lead you on into the idea of like, see, we're doing everything from the game, and then huge left turn at the end. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I get a little bit of spidey sense telling me it is.
You could be right.
I could be right. I could also be very, very wrong. We'll see next episode for sure.
But, or I mean, you might. I mean, as I said, they could still continue this into season 2. Like, it's not. There's nothing that says it has to end at the end of game 1.
Didn't they say that that's what they're going for? Like, the first season was going to encapsulate the whole game, because they're getting pretty damn close.
I didn't hear that. They could have said that. I just know. All I knew was they said initially they weren't going to go beyond the games.
Right, but that means they still have the season 2, which is the second game that they could be doing, or stretching out that in the sense where whatever. But they're painting themselves in the corner with that one, because, well, Last of Us 3 needs to come out, and I'm like, what? And maybe this is their way of being like, it's coming out in 2 years. Wink, wink, wink. Because we're going to give you a third season. or if it's going to do the Game of Thrones thing where it's like, we're going to give you the third game for a year, or no, not the Game of Thrones thing. We're going to take a gap year, and then give you season 3. We'll see. But
All
if the game comes
possibilities.
first, I want to see what those sales are, because I really, really am interested to see if this show is going to increase the sales of Last of Us 3 or whatever crappy remastered edition they put out, which is a controversy of its own from Naughty Dog. But yeah,
I did
it is
see
what
a
it is.
very funny video of people pretending like they didn't think David suffered enough, so they went to go pay to buy Last of Us Part 1 again, just so they could enact the pain on David again
Yeah.
through the video game. But yes, we'll see. There's only one episode left, and of this season. Sorry,
Mhm.
we know there's a season 2, and we will be back next week to spoil it for you guys. But in the meantime,
That's right.
please go to thatshelf.com. We are part of the That Shelf Podcast Network with other great shows like Bad Game Movies, Black Hole Films, Contra Zoom Pod. So yeah, listen to those shows, our show, more shows, all at thatshelf.com. If you want to hear older episodes of our show, go to tdferything.com/spoiledrotten. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. Our Twitter and Instagram is @tdfspoiled. And we're on all the podcast platforms. So please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, follow, do all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll be back next week.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.